Дійсно, вчорашній день був присвячений постановці питання про те, що таке є ідентичність, як ми її розглядаємо, і контексту взагалі навколо цього питання. Контексту як локального, місцевого, житомирського, так національного, всеукраїнського і ширше міжнародного рівня. Тобто ми не лише занурюємось в свою ситуацію і не бачимо виходу з неї, бігаємо по колу. Ми дивимося на цю ситуацію ширше, ми розуміємо її місце і значення, і релевантність, співвідносність з тими процесами, які взагалі відбуваються у світі. І ми розуміємо, що Житомир має на що спиратись, є певні аналоги, є певні досвіди, з якими можна себе співставляти, є досвід, який можна залучати і використовувати. І далі наступна друга панель, яку ми вже сьогодні продовжуємо нашим першим блоком першої половини дня, це більш практичні речі, які стосуються того, що нам з цим робити, як працювати з ідентичністю, як її переосмислити, як її вибудовувати в майбутнє, тому що ідентичність – це двовекторна річ. З одного боку ми спираємось на щось, що вже існує, вже напрацьоване, певний фундамент у вигляді нашої спадщини. З іншого боку, ми зорієнтовані на майбутнє, тому що ця ідентичність нам потрібна для того, щоб будувати, для того, щоб спрямовувати себе у майбутнє. І я дуже рада, власне, що сьогоднішня перша половина дня присвячена, власне, розгляду такому дуже детальному, не просто спадщині, а складній спадщині. Тобто тим питанням, які зазвичай залишаються в тіні уваги, які випадають, які залишаються за межами, за лаштунками і не отримують такого детального предметного розгляду. І, власне, перед дискусією, яка буде присвячена, знову ж таки, як локальному житомирському питанню про незручні якісь історичні моменти чи незручну спадщину, ми маємо гостю з Польщі, Олександру Хабьєру, яка представляє Польський інститут спадщини, Польський національний інститут спадщини. І, власне, я познайомилася з Олександрою близько місяця тому у Варшаві, коли вона представляла діяльність своєї інституції. І скажу відверто, що наша українська делегація була абсолютно вражена тим підходом, який Польща практикує, який Польща має по відношенню до спадщини. І перше, що нас вразило, були слова Олександри, яка говорила про те, що спадщина – це не є щось, що ми лише захищаємо. Спадщина – це не є щось стале, це не є щось таке, те, що в минулому застигле. Це є те, що повинно працювати на сьогодні і на майбутнє. І те поняття, яке сьогодні використовується в Польщі, це менеджмент культурної спадщини. Як зробити так, щоб ця спадщина працювала, взаємодіяла? І, власне, я відчула, що саме цей досвід, цей погляд надзвичайно важливий і потрібний в Житомирі. Адже на сьогодні Житомир повинен реактивізувати, ревіталізувати свою спадщину. І, власне, польський досвід є тим, на який можна спиратись. Отже, зараз ми матимемо лекцію від Олександри про, власне, ці нові підходи до спадщини, роботи з спадщиною, після чого ми матимемо дискусію панельну за участі Євгенії Моляр, Євгенія Нікіфорова, Софії Дяк і Олександри про, власне, способи роботи з культурною спадщиною. Отже, я запрошую пані Олександру. Дуже дякую їй за те, що вона відгукнулася на таку швидку пропозицію приїхати. І хочу окремо подякувати Інституту Адама Міцкевича, який допоміг нам привезти Олександру і підтримав нашу конференцію. Передаю слово.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here, because it's really exciting to be in a place that actually start thinking about culture, about heritage. And it's for me not only a job, but a huge passion. So in my job, I'm really happy because I can work with very interesting people and interesting places. Well, starting, I wanted to know maybe something we experienced in Poland. It's maybe since 10 years that we understood understood in a way of working out that heritage is a root of all culture. So if we speak about culture, if we speak about cultural management or cultural issues in communities, it's impossible to talk about it without mentioning heritage, because everything we are is based on what we were, what our ancestors were. It can be approach that is positive towards heritage, but it also can be a kind of negation or lack of understanding even, but it's still a kind of relation. So I think that I have to be here, yes? It works, okay. I hope you see, but in these 3 steps I wanted to show you the difference between heritage approach since 50 years maybe, and this is the question that was actually worked out by conservation milieux, conservation areas. So first, even 100 years ago, heritage was a monument. It was a single monument, a single historical site. Then within evolution of thinking about heritage, we started to understand that a monument or a site is actually linked to a context. It is not an isolated island, it's linked with the surrounding changes. So what happened? It was a change of approach. And we understood that the context can be important. And then what is actually the base of what we are doing now with heritage management is next level of understanding. That is that monument and heritage means not only brick, not only walls, but also what is in our minds. That is intangible heritage, traditions, craftsmen, every knowledge we have from the past. What I show you below is kind of recapitulation of the most complex definition of heritage, that it is all that we inherited from the past and all we identify with. It doesn't have to be a positive identification. That's the difficult heritage, but it is still something we relate to. So it doesn't matter if it's mine, if I have a certificate that this is really my heritage. If I identify in any way with this, that means that it is my heritage. I don't know if it's easy. Anyway, if you have a question or comment, please step on and we can talk. Let's not make it a real lecture, but a discussion maybe. So everything that we do with heritage management in National Heritage Board of Poland is based on this notion that people have to relate to certain things from the past. So we can call it heritage then. I don't know if it's okay. What we know already, and this is a hard experience of many years, it's not so easy, that heritage is really a source of economy and source of identity. First of all, we have research, but research is based on hard experience, and trust me, it took years to us researchers and to us people dealing with heritage protection first to force authorities, to force central authorities and local authorities to understand that heritage gives a lot of contribution to development, not only economical development and still it is very considerable influence, but also social development. We have in Poland, mostly in small regional areas or villages and small towns, economical problems linked with migration, linked with the fact that people are moving out to cities and moving out abroad for money. So, for example, we have divided families. We have villages when only women live because husbands are out for job. We have villages when only men lives because women are out for job. So, of course, as you can imagine, this provokes a lot of social problems, actually. And heritage can be also this link that can provide a kind of a better understanding of what I am, better understanding of what I can become, and it turned out that heritage can actually help resolve social problems. Of course, this research I base on is not very common in Poland because it takes, of course, money to give numbers. But I wanted to show you, I don't know if it's visible actually, but I wanted to show you the influence on economy that heritage make. Actually, when we think heritage and economy, we think tourism and we think, oh, maybe museums and all this stuff connected directly to heritage protection. So if you can see here, we show actually every economy branch that is somehow related to heritage. Because, for example, when you think about tourism industry, you mean not only museums or not only hotels and restaurants, but also people who provide, who supply with products every restaurant, who produce these products, who transport these products to the restaurant, the people who give other services that we can think of, actually any service that is needed to supply tourists with all they need. And this open our minds to understanding of actually how many branches of economy can be influenced by heritage, and we have to underline it to our authorities because we people of culture, we need to really show and prove to authorities that it is actually something that gives money and other social development to the community. Because even we sometimes do not understand this influence, that it is a kind of a really big influence. I wanted to say first that in Europe, generally, culture and tourism is actually the only branch that didn't decrease in 15 years, and it's still growing. So this is also the information important. It will be growing. It can give money. It's very straight to talk about money, but this is something we learned that we actually need to talk about this. It's not. It doesn't make sense to hide this part of our lives. We are, of course, culture people. We are heritage people, and this is very important. This is very moral on a high level. But nevertheless, we have to think about economy. We have to think about this aspect because it is life, actually. We won't hide from it. I just wanted to show you the French research that showed how important economy branch is without actually even pointing out other services. But they just measured the ticketed museums, nothing else. So imagine what difference would be when we think about other influence on heritage on local economies. They measured only state budget for restoration and compared it with incomes from ticketed museums, and as you see, it turns out that revenues double the budget for the restoration. So this is enormous influence on economy, enormous influence on jobs. What is really important, and I told you already, not only museums are interested, not only museums have to be counted because other services that I told you about, but still, only these numbers show this importance. Of course, we have to create a kind of atmosphere for museums visiting, because, you have been asked who was in the museum, 18 kilometers from Jitomir. In Poland, we have also this problem. Not many people are going to museums, but this increase, and it increased only because museums started to think about how to invite people in, what to offer them, a part of the dusty items behind the glass they cannot touch, and without any new proposals. So what we now have is a kind of a interest in museum lessons, a new approach. People can touch things, people interact actually. So the museum is not only I go and watch, but I go and do. I go and interact with items and peoples that I can find in museums. And this changed the situation. It's not ideal yet, but still it's something that it's a kind of a process of development. So if you start, it's not always very expensive actually, because these museums lessons we invite people to, it's the question of the idea, how to show my museum, how to show its items, history it presents in an interesting way. So it's actually what helps is to travel around and see what others do, but also related to what I have in my museum, how to make it interesting for others. Okay, I want to show you a little bit the data we got from the research made by my institute 2 years ago. So it's a kind of optimistic that people actually understand that heritage make my city, my town, my village unique. It's part of the research we made on people's approach towards heritage in many areas, about the law, about the regulations, about the importance in life, and about economy approach. So as we understand, sometimes it is a kind of a declaration that respondents know they should have. It's not always a real understanding of the issue, but still this is a part of a group of people that are actually our allies. First of all, I can go to my boss, I can go to my mayor in the city and show him, look, as many people as we show you are interested in heritage, are interested in preserving heritage, so please find money for the restoration because it's investment and more people will come to visit our town. In a simple way, of course, because it's more complicated, but that's a little bit how it works. Next, what we liked very much is that people start to understand that heritage can have economic dimension. So can create jobs, products and any commercial activity. It's a high rate because definitely agree it's 15%. That is not much, but 58% rather agree. And generally, sociologists perceive these two answers, definitely and rather agree, as a kind of a one group of people that can be understood as allies, understood as people who actually are for our our notion, are for our idea. Okay, I just wanted to show you the case, which is actually Polish-Ukrainian case, in a way. It's a case of understanding the development based on culture, understanding by local authorities. We are talking about Narol. This is a small town near Ukrainian border. Before the war and before everything went to hell, it was a mixed Polish, Ukrainian, Jewish, whatever region. So anyway, we have a lot of Orthodox churches there. And one of these churches were in the middle of this town. In the middle of this town, we have also a huge palace of Polish Count Antony Łoś. And the palace was, after the war, it was in a complete ruin, actually. And it turns out, about 15 years ago, we had a very famous, world-famous classical player of, it's kind of a clavichord, it's chamber music, very sophisticated. He was looking for a place that he could arrange master classes for musicians, for already trained musicians. And he found this palace and he started a foundation. Foundation purpose was to restore the palace and make it the masterclass center with hotel rooms, with music rooms, and so on. And because he was actually a world-class musician, he started to invite other world-class musicians to this small area. It is really a very isolated place. No highway, no airport, not really a lot of tourists there. I could say even almost none, not almost non-existent tourism, although it is in the region very famous for tourism. But especially this small town wasn't really very known. What they done was to prepare a festival of classical, jazz and folk music. And they invited, because they had contacts with this classical music professor, they invited world-class musicians, and it turns out that in few years, really the whole world was in this small town for a few days. And in one day, they went to this Orthodox church, which was actually a place for informal parties, fireplaces. It was really not protected properly. So they went there to see, and it turned out that it's a great acoustic. And musicians started to push on the local authorities to buy this place out, because the Orthodox Church was actually in county authorities. It's a little bit higher level than local authority, to buy it and to restore it. So they bought it for €1 because the county authorities were really very happy to give away the monument that they didn't have idea for and they didn't have money for. And the local mayor found money in European Union, actually, for the restoration. They made an exhibition and concert center there. And the festival that this famous musician started before the restoration of the church moved out to this church, actually. So all these famous people go there. And all the people who didn't even heard about this small town started to go there every year, because this is not a very popular kind of music, jazz, classical, chamber music. But it is enough for the local authority to start other revitalization process. So the whole town is being restored right now. They restored a lot in the town center. People are starting to provide services to the actually cultural tourists coming to Narol. So they are starting to make small hotels or pensions, bed and breakfast. They think about what kind of other offer they can think of, because actually cultural tourists interested in music are coming every year, but they are not only going to concerts. They also need to see something, spend the weekend, spend the time somewhere else. And we have to provide them an offer, actually. What can I do in this area? Okay, the concert is afternoon. What can I do after my breakfast? So they started to think about it. And of course, this is a part of, we can say, economical development. But other part is that this center placed in the church is very important for local people also, because they started a lot of events actually that are mostly for local people. They started a dance and singing group, and these girls are now traveling all around the world with their singing and dancing performances. They started local feasts, having the place now for it. So they didn't have any place for any local event, they have it now. So local people started to have offer that they didn't have before. They have a place linked to the heritage. It's a nice building, actually. It has a beautiful paintings inside. So they developed actually a relation to the building that was not really important to them before. It was just a ruin, you know. And now this is a place working for them, and they have a completely different approach to this heritage that was actually a difficult one. As Polish-Ukrainian history of the borderlands is not easy. To say the least. So this building working now for actually their localities started to be an important cultural asset for the local people. So more and more people also are going to visit it, on the other hand, not only to hear a concert, but also to visit the place which was not really visited at all in 50 years maybe. So, but I have to tell you that is a kind of a luck, because we had a famous professor that came and told everybody, I will make a foundation here, and I think that this church has a great acoustic. Of course, it's a matter of luck. But another thing is that it's a matter of a good thinking authorities, because the mayor there is actually really, I would wish every locality in Poland and every locality in Ukraine, a mayor like this, thinking of future. It's really very important to have an open person, and this is really a question of sometimes luck of who you work with. I don't know the Ukrainian law about local administration. Of course, I'm sure it differs from Polish, but generally we have a few instruments that local authorities can use to help entrepreneurship, to help small business, and to help NGOs and cultural centers to develop. I'm showing this because it's important to us, it's important to cultural people to know the local law, because we know how we can influence, what we can ask, what we can go to mayor and say, okay, but I know that it's your duty, you have to do this and that. So generally we think about legal instruments. For example, spatial planning, if it is existing in Ukrainian life, I don't know. In Poland it's a huge problem because spatial planning is very, how to say, influenced by investors. So investors are gods. So it's rarely that we can really think of our development, our spatial development in terms of decades, because investors always say, okay, I give jobs, I give money, so my ideas, my needs are more important than heritage protection, and thus a lot of heritage vanished or are destroyed by bad reconstructions. But still we have to think about a local influence on the strategy. I mean, heritage is important in spatial planning because actually we think about how we want to develop our town, how we want to develop our city in 10 years, not next year, but in 10 or 20 years. Do we really need to destroy this old church because nobody goes there? Or maybe we will use it, for example, for a cultural center. Or I saw a church transformed into a kindergarten, not in Poland, in Germany, but still you can use this building in a way that, of course, local society will agree on. But spatial planning is important for this. Local authority can also provide smaller taxes for businesses based on heritage. For example, for people who make local products and sell it as souvenirs. You can put such a regulation in the local law. For example, that local authority will order small souvenirs for official gifts from local traditional products craftsman, because not a price is important that we buy these gifts on a small price, but important is that we provide job to this craftsman. So, okay, we buy a little bit more expensive gifts for our official guests, but we create jobs because we still order these souvenirs from local craftsmen. So he doesn't go to the social help for money because he has a job. It's just a simple relation. What can also be done by local authorities? Infrastructure instruments helping and boosting tourism, preparing roads, developing internet web, developing internet connections everywhere in the locality. Then developing, for example, bicycle routes, putting signs there. It's simple. It helps every cultural business or heritage protection business or museums to, let's say, to invite tourists, because actually if tourists will come for one famous museum, for example, or a castle, and he doesn't have any place to eat, he will go somewhere else to eat. So, okay, he will come for a visit in one museum, but you won't have anything from it, and he won't leave money there. This is as simple as that. And of course, what is a little bit lower is financial instruments. You can make smaller taxes for people working on with culture and cultural heritage businesses. And local authorities can also pay for example, for trainings, we call it soft support. So if I want to open a business, I don't really have to get a lot of money if it's a small local business, and local authorities can help actually in this. I want to show two examples, very simple ones actually. First, we have a local group of development. It's a kind of association of local authorities, 3 or 4 in the Polish mountains. They created a virtual map you can use as a tourist if you want to search a local handicraft or local products, or where to sleep, or where to find a bicyclette to ride around. They paid for it, and it is not only for one locality, it's not only for one community, it's all around this region. So it's a kind of a cooperation that boosted actually because it helped tourists to find what they want. It's a simple thing. Next thing is also a small mountain town, Nowy Sącz. Authorities paid for a mobile application for tourists also to find anything they need. Everybody uses mobiles now. You don't live without them. So, of course, they put on this map some facilities like restaurants. This is a private business restaurant. But still they decided, okay, we will show this business, we will show these facilities because it develops our region. And there were problems because they were afraid to be accused of boosting this business but not another one. So it's always human agent, human problems that locally we start to quarrel, locally we start to accuse each other on and be afraid of competition. The competition locally for local authorities, and actually it really works everywhere. If you fight, if you see this competition as hostile, you will never actually boost the development in locality because no one in small towns is strong enough to survive without any other offer. If I have, for example, a small but interesting museum, no one will come to the region if they don't have anything else to do around. So if I'm not going to advertise others because I'm afraid of competition, we will not give each other tourists. They will just go away to the place when this touristic offer is more complex. Now, because I was asked to show you intangible heritage, how to use it. It's actually the basic of this lecture. Intangible heritage is something really new for us. In the National Heritage Board of Poland, generally we worked with tangible heritage, with buildings, with archaeological sites, with castles, parks, and all this material stuff. But since few years we work with intangible heritage. It's a little bit different area because intangible heritage is not objectively assessed by experts. For example, if I go to the people dealing with intangible heritage national list, I say me and 20 other people are very linked to the heritage, to the local tradition of pipe making, for example. And I will present the photos, the history, the witness that we are making pipes since 50 years or so. They cannot say, pipes, it's nothing interesting, it's not very special, everybody make pipes. They can say, it's this personal relation to some tradition. It doesn't have to be very important nationally. It has to be important locally. 10 minutes, okay. So when we think of it, it's everything we can, actually every human activity. What did I make for Christmas? What my grandma makes for Christmas? Do we have traditional medicine? Do we have traditional cosmetics? We start to think about it in Poland since few years. Actually, most of these traditions locally were completely erased by a communist era. We were very like, there is one official tradition that is protected and that is supported. But small local differences, small regional differences and minority differences were completely, you can say, they wanted to erase it. So a lot of this tradition is or forgot or we remember something but we're not really sure. Now in Poland, maybe 10 years, we start to think about it, and I have to tell you that in some regions, the response is incredible. People started to develop the ideas not only for business, but also for cultural education. People started to think about their identity as linked to traditions, to how to make things, to my music, and this is actually something that works a lot for these regions. I will show you the examples. What is very important when you think about how to find something I can base my cultural education on, or my business, because it's the same. You have to ask people around. This is actually basic, because even if I am local mayor, I think that I know everything. I think I'm persuaded that I know everything about my town. That is totally not true. We are working with local authorities for many years now, and we know that not everybody gives a kind of a knowledge we might not have as authority. You have to ask people, and using participative methods, for example, make a meeting and ask people around, do you remember what your grandma made for Christmas? Because maybe my grandma did make something else, because I actually come from another region. So this is very important. I will show you some success stories. And this is my favorite one because it's linked with chocolate. And it's very tasty. This is a chocolate. Actually, it's handmade. It has this, different strange flavors, and it's very good, of course. But the basic is that they based the box design, on the folk motifs. Very different folk motifs from all around the country. But what they think about is very actually desk research job, because they asked art professor to transform these motifs into the local chocolate design motif. So what you see on these boxes is I can recognize it, but it's a little bit transformed to a kind of a modern form. And they also describe these motifs on the back side of the box. So they say, these motifs comes from window carving from south of Poland. It was used since 200 years and so on and so on. And they developed a business in a way that they are now even at the airports and in the best shops, and this chocolate is very expensive. But what is important that they used actually, and it's a simple idea. It's nothing special, but it was enough actually. Then something I want to show you because I really like it. It's one of 3, maybe 4 shops based on the communist design. Actually, in Poland, design in 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s was on a very good level, actually, because people that were designing not only clothes, but also furniture, small items for home or everything, actually, were great artists educated before the war. So it was a kind of a good level of education. And it started with the idea to show old communist era items. And it developed to a kind of a trend that communist era design and motifs and way they decorated things is actually now very trendy, and it's really not only clothes I show you now, but also but actually everything you can think of. This is a very important example. This is a handmade lace, very famous in Poland. It comes from the village, highest village in Poland, actually. It's high in the mountain, and they were traditionally for ages made lace there. So suddenly one young man came with the idea to make something new out from the lace, not only tableware or something, but also underwear. Strings and other underwear, and it was a huge scandal in this village, because this is important, because all the women that used to make this lace and teach others how to make this lace were very well versed by approach that you can make panties out of my beautiful and traditional lace. And okay, it's a quarrel, but some of these old ladies said, okay, it's cool. So you never know. You never know who will like the idea or not, but you have to think about the reaction of people who actually are linked to this tradition. These are very expensive items because it's handmade, it takes a lot of time to prepare it, but this is a kind of a huge success since, I don't know, 15 years maybe right now. But of course they had to work out this problem between this part of inhabitants that were okay with panties and bra made out of our lace, and between the others that were not totally agree on this issue. What else I want to show you? This is my favorite actually, because 2 minutes, come on. Because it's based on the tradition of Silesian coal mine region. Coal mining regions are not very it's not something that looks nice. It's not something that we would like to see and go, it's industrial area. Nobody likes it. But then after we shut down a lot of mines and we planted trees there, and a lot of mines started to transform into cultural centers. We have a lot mines that are now being visited as museums, as centers to present coal miners' life, but also cultural centers for, well, it's actually even international music festivals, very culturally active region. So it started with young people who wanted to take this shameful, actually, tradition of dust and coal and industry and change it into something trendy. It is also a little bit linked with communist design. But still you have now developing the pride of the region, the pride of the language, culture and everything. So they are not only promoting events, not only promoting Silesian dialect, because it's very distinctive from Polish language, but they also develop items based on this coal mining heritage, but very trendy. You have pen drive here. You have my favorite coal mine soap. It looks like coal, but it's a soap. Everything there, even books about this Silesian language, and a lot of people are buying this. First, it was local inhabitants that used to buy these things. Now everybody in the region and outside is ordering this stuff for their locally sell souvenirs. So the development of this idea was incredible. Fast example, toys. I don't know about you, but in Poland the problem is all the plastic, fantastic, Chinese made, everything the same. No matter where you go, you have same souvenirs to buy. It is a traditional wooden toys. It was a kind of forgotten, but now it's reviving because people have enough of plastic everything. So they start to buy traditionally made toys for adults. It's like, oh, I remember it when I was young, my grandma used to have it. And out of the sentiment, they buy it. And they buy it also for children. These local toys are on the list of intangible heritage because it's a tradition since like 200 years maybe. Very fast, the Herbal Corner, it's a place linking intangible heritage of medicine making, of herb making, with the hotel, with the center showing how to farm animals. We think we know it, but a lot of children now are living in the cities and they don't really understand sometimes how the chicken look like or how the live cow look like. I was shocked, but it's true. They see just a bottle of milk in the shop, so they don't have any opportunity. They developed a very beautiful spot. They offer not only herbal library and herbal garden, but everything they think of, including shop, including online shop selling all the herbs. And they cultivate actually these herbs, so this is very local. Very fast with numbers. I want to show you the local cheese. It's produced in 3 small communities in Poland, and it's on the European Union certified traditional list. I want to show you just in 2012 they were certified in the European Union, and how it boosted the number of taxes and the number of companies related to the cheese, because it's 9 families that produce it. But I don't understand this. What is this? 10? Okay. Very fast. Everything you have, every item you have, you can decorated with folk motifs. It's very fast. We can talk afterwards about it. And cultural offer. You see the very famous Eastern fabrics, and I took part in the workshop how to. It's a kind of a presentation of workshop for tourists and for local children education that you make a wooden, not a wooden, linen bag, and you decorate it with these local motifs. So it's a very fun, but if you see at the right of the bottom, I'm not really very talented in the matter, because when you compare these motifs on the fabric and on this red bag, I suck on it. It's not very nice. Okay. If you need to talk with me or write, or because what I did today, it was just scratching the surface, really. It's actually for at least one day of talking on details on local development and how communities, how authorities can contribute, how NGOs can contribute. It's another thing. How to develop business is another thing. Our issue is heritage protection, but we have to think about it as agent of development who has to work for community, because otherwise nobody will be interested in its protection. So, okay, I was told to invite you for the workshop tomorrow. I will run a workshop on how to use heritage motifs and heritage aspects to develop local products. Details, I think that somebody will tell you, because I'm not really sure. I know it will be at 1 o'clock and that's all. So I know that the registration is still open. If you have any questions, you can catch me outside on a coffee break. Thank you very much.